Bill Clinton, yes. The guy who dared to play two-person sports with the White House intern lived through scandals so dramatic they could fill a 6-episode Netflix drama. Honestly, even during his election campaign, people were already exposing his affairs. Luckily for him, he had a powerhouse wife, Hillary. She stood by him like a steel-spined guardian angel. And if we're being real, Hillary absolutely outclassed Bill in terms of personal charm. Back in law school, while Bill was busy being a flirt, he kept sneaking glances at the sharp and confident Hillary. Hillary wasn't one to beat around the bush. She straight up told him, "If you want to date me, just say it." But Bill wasn't after wholesome romance. Why waste time taking walks in the park when he could be studying how to become the future boss of America? Ever since Bill saw young JFK on campus that year, the thought hit him, if this handsome guy can become president in his 40s, then why can't I? Of course, Kennedy came from a wealthy political dynasty, a superfamily in American politics. Meanwhile, Bill started life without a dad, then got stuck with an alcoholic stepfather. A real nightmare start, only slightly better than Truman's. But Bill didn't care. Fresh out of school, he ran around yelling that he wanted to run for governor of Arkansas. He wandered the state like an overexcited street hustler, trying to convince people to vote for him. Most folks didn't even want to talk to this hyperactive kid. Meanwhile, Hillary graduated and immediately landed a solid job among Washington elites. But when she heard her boyfriend was trying to become someone back in Arkansas, she ditched her promising DC career, moved to a rural state, and helped him campaign. If that's not textbook love brain behavior, nothing is. Bill was so touched he pulled Hillary into his living room and held the wedding right there. Just like that, they got married. Of course, the marriage didn't stop Bill from playing with other women. According to members of his campaign team, his record was 25 women in a single day wanting to hang out with him. In 1978, either thanks to Hillary's race for Bill's 4 years of street-level campaigning, 32-year-old Clinton finally became governor of Arkansas. That meant he had officially reached the threshold to one day run for president. But he had a problem. Arkansas ranked second to last in the entire country. If he wanted a presidential ticket, he had to boost the state economy first. Bill confidently promised, "Give me 4 years. Watch what I can do." 4 years later, his chaotic policy changes successfully got him kicked out of office. And the reason was hilariously petty. Bill raised the license plate fee from $19 to $36, just a $17 increase, and the voters threw him out. Honestly, American election rules are kind of great. If you're an official, you live or die by the voters' mood. After being kicked out, Bill learned his lesson and restarted another 2-year marathon of street campaigning. 2 years later, he stood on stage swearing to voters he had changed. This time they bought it. He won his seat back and began an 8-year streak as governor. While he was dominating the Arkansas governorship, national Democratic leaders finally noticed this smooth-talking kid. They wanted him to boost votes for their party's candidate, Michael Dukakis. In the 1988 presidential race, Bill talked until his mouth went dry, but Dukakis was simply uncarryable. The guy suddenly announced support for giving weekend prison leave to life sentence inmates. What kind of cursed policy is that? Of course, the voters chose George H.W. Bush instead. But the Democratic elites had already seen Clinton's talent as a vote-getter. 4 years later, they handed him the presidential ticket. At 46, Bill prepared to face peak form of Bush. Bush Sr. thought he'd win easily after all. He had defeated the Soviet Union and stumped Saddam Hussein. But while Clinton was raking in votes, Bush just sat there chilling. By the time he realized he was in danger, he panicked and went nuclear, digging up Clinton's scandals, smoking weed, draft-dodging mistrust rumors. He threw everything at Bill. But Bill countered every hit with absolute nonsense confidence. "Wait, I didn't inhale, so it doesn't count. Draft dodging, just didn't get picked in the lottery. Pure luck. Mistress, Hillary forgave me. None of your business." He tanked every accusation. Mario Kart style overtook Bush at the finish line and became president. Bush was stunned. "How did I lose with that arm?" Bill was chill, a basic operation, and Clinton's first law after becoming president. A bombshell, a long game man to date within the US military. Congress freaked out. Colin Powell suspected Bill might be, personally invested in the policy. Congress wasn't going to pass something this wild, so they wished he'd stop thinking up weird ideas and go worry about international crises instead. Because after the Soviet Union collapsed, the UN wanted the US to act as global babysitter again. Somalia was in the middle of a messy coup, so they asked Clinton to step in. But Bill was a Vietnam draft dodger dude, had zero interest in war. He didn't even know that US presidents are supposed to salute soldiers back. Still, to save face for the UN, he sent a Delta Force unit to intervene. During the mission to capture Somali warlord Aidid, 2 Black Hawk helicopters were shot down. The US ended up losing 92 soldiers rescuing a trapped man. Clinton felt sick. Why did I even try to be world police? A few months later, Rwanda erupted in a brutal civil war. The UN demanded US intervention again. This time Clinton refused. He basically said, let the locals handle their own chaos. And they really did handle it by killing 800,000 people in 3 months. The world was horrified. The UN blamed Clinton, saying his refusal caused the genocide. Clinton didn't even bother responding. He had bigger problems. His presidency was on the verge of collapsing. The FBI was investigating a scam at a failed company, and the Clintons were shareholders. In a panic, Bill strong-armed his own guy into becoming special prosecutor. The poor man thought he'd latched onto the president's lie. Turned out he had just become the biggest shield for corruption in America. Suddenly, every Clinton scandal came bubbling up. Fraud, hiring, hitman, prostitution, and, of course, the legendary Zippergate everything. After the Soviet Union collapsed, the UN begged the US to be global police. But smaller countries mocked America for being a nosy monkey with long arms. Meanwhile, in Bosnia, Serb forces resumed massacring Muslims. Sarajevo, the place where WWI started, was drowning in blood again. France claimed the region gave them PTSD and refused to intervene, so they asked the US to step in. Clinton hesitated. He had enough domestic disasters. But the Serbs didn't wait. They slaughtered 8,000 boys in Srebrenica. Clinton and the UN lost it. The US launched 3,500 airstrikes in 2 weeks, forcing Serb forces to negotiate. Foreign troubles, temporarily solved. Domestic chaos, still a nightmare. Newt Gingrich, the Republican leader, hated Clinton's guts. Why should a young Democrat be president? And why did he have such a competent wife? After Republicans took Congress, Gingrich immediately tried to topple Clinton. He demanded spending cuts and threatened to block federal employee pay if Clinton refused. Clinton wasn't about to bow to some rival, so he led 800,000 federal workers in a mass shutdown. The US basically fell into a temporary anarchist state. People couldn't even pay their water bills. Gingrich refused to back down. If he gave in, he'd look weak before running for president. Clinton versus Gingrich, full-scale political war. It got so bad the entire nation was shocked. Congress finally gave up and let the public vote on who they supported. Of course, they chose Clinton. He was the president. After all, Gingrich was just the last Speaker of the House. Clinton won and kept his authority. But Gingrich wasn't done. He just needed the right moment to bite. And then Monica Lewinsky entered the chat. During the shutdown, federal interns still had to report to the White House, including a 22-year-old sweetheart named Monica. Clinton, stressed and emotional, made a very bad decision. But karma takes time. While Clinton was still battling Gingrich, Monica's supervisor noticed something was off and transferred her to the Pentagon. Unfortunately, her new supervisor was a Republican. Monica, thinking she was being abandoned, walked around depressed every day. The new supervisor casually coaxed her into spilling the truth, and BOOM, the biggest political scandal of the decade, was born. Gingrich finally had his nuke. But having an affair isn't illegal. Clinton could only be hit if he lied under oath. So Gingrich bought Monica's recorded confession, leaked rumors everywhere, and waited for Clinton to deny it at the hearing. If Clinton denied it, the recording would drop like a Mortal Kombat fatality. Clinton denied it, of course, straight into the trap. Impeachment time. Many people say America fell apart after Clinton. Not true. It's just that Clinton's achievements were too insane. During his second term, the economy exploded. America actually became the true global class monitor. He was on track to be the most beloved president since FDR. But women, Monica Lewinsky, the intern, had hoped being Clinton's favorite would boost her career. Instead, she got kicked out of the White House and, being angry and manipulated by Republicans, she exposed everything. Clinton denied everything. Hillary defended him fiercely, blaming political enemies. Then Monica produced the stained dress. With Clinton's DNA, game over. Clinton finally admitted the affair to Hillary. But he added, "Don't worry, honey, there was no, mostly just the mad stuff." What could Hillary say? Of course, she forgave him. Not their first rodeo. Gingrich moved to impeach Clinton. But fortunately for Bill, Democrats had just gained majority in Congress. They protected him, and he survived impeachment. After all, the man might be horny, but he governed well. He turned the deficit-bleeding government into one that made $240 billion. Not everyone can do that. If it were Nixon, his own party would have thrown him out the window. Clinton survived, but inside he was traumatized. With 700 days left in office, he was already drafting his farewell speech, praying Monica wouldn't drop more bombs. Even God might not save him if she did.